Insights channel. Steve here, and today, like last week, I'm going to follow up on my wife and I's UFO encounter that we had just on the 21st September, which was my 7th UFO encounter in my lifetime, or 6th since the year 2010. And I'm going to realize now that obviously what we're seeing has significance. So I'm going to continue here and give a recap what I showed last week, but give you also a lot more information. So our UFO encounter on the 21st September 2025. Right. On the 21st September, my wife and I were walking in the forest locally. Yeah, this is just a quick recap. We were walking along a long path facing west to east with tall trees on both sides, and suddenly my wife exclaimed, "Look up, what is that?" And observing, I saw an elongated UFO which looked tapered at the ends and had no aerodynamic characteristics except it had two small wings in the center of it. In spite of this, the UFO just sailed across the sky in a few seconds. My wife also mentioned it was glowing. It was traveling north to south. All the UFOs I've seen is the same, traveling north to south. And that's what experts also say, same thing. I think it's to do with the gravity of the Earth, the magnetic fields as well. You make use of those because in some places you've got anti-gravity, if you know what you're doing. And you make use of that, the UFOs do. And it was very long and probably thousands of feet in length. I also noticed, I noticed that the main media has also mentioned something similar, that they've seen a very long UFO. And they do mention these kind of UFOs sometimes. But I noticed strangely when you try and get a picture, say from my article, you can't find a picture of one of these long UFOs. I don't know why, you only get round pictures. I don't know why, I don't know. Okay, so also what concerns me the most since I've had 7 encounters, what concerns me the most is the fact the latest UFO encounter was right over us. That I don't like. For the simple reason, if it means something, I'm not saying it does, but if it does mean something, it's right on top of us. Something happened here in the UK. I don't know, just a suggestion, maybe. So, I have noticed, I said this here, did the recent UFO encounter my wife and I actually mean something? What I did not like is, yes, like I just said, is it appeared right over us, thus implying that if anything's afoot, it's going to be close range. Like here in the UK or not in a faraway country. What kind of thing could it be? Well, the last time I saw one of these big UFOs, within 6 weeks, they happened that terrible tsunami. No, that's right, the terrible tsunami in Japan. Tens of thousands of people lost their lives. So I believe these type of UFOs are sent by God. They gather up souls and they take them where they belong. I think that's what the long kind of UFOs are used for. In other words, they're good ones. Yes, that's right. Wow. Yes. So anyway, I've seen these elongated type of UFOs on 2 different occasions. Right. And then, right, the rest of the story you know, I think I don't know, can't remember if I told you everything that happened. I think most of it you know, so I won't get into that again. But there is more to this story. Because I know there are good UFOs, there are bad UFOs, and there are also man-made imitation ones or reverse engineering, like in Roswell and stuff like that. So, anyway, overall, although we saw that big UFO, which I believe is one of God's one that gathers souls, I'm just praying that nothing really bad's going to suddenly happen really soon. Then I'm saying here, should we be expecting the long-awaited predicted financial crash that perhaps here in the West and right here in the UK? Or is there going to be a NATO war against Russia, which keeps being predicted by so many people? Or is there going to be the destruction of the great whore of the USA, as long ago predicted, Book of Revelation chapter 17, 18? Or could there be a tidal wave coming across the North Sea to the UK caused by the Russian Navy, as has been boasted by some Russian leaders in the past? Anyway, we've all been hearing a lot of scaremongering and fear-mongering over the years, but what is the truth? What is the truth? One thing for sure is that the world is racing towards the AI mark of the beast that was so infamously predicted in the Bible in Revelation chapter 13. Now, here's something totally new you don't know as far as I know. Here is, I have to admit this, that I get visions, I get dreams sometimes, prophecies, but what I find really uncanny is having daytime visions when I'm no artist, I'm not artistic at all, can't draw anything, not photography, and yet sometimes I can see things in broad daylight. Is it scary? No, no, I'm not scared by it. I'm not looking for it, but it's just there. That's the only way I can describe it. And something like this happened a couple of years ago, which is related to this UFO phenomenon. Here's a little vision that I had when finishing I think it was my 10th books, Out of the Bottomless Pit, Book 2, which is about the paranormal, supernatural, UFOs, that's the thing. My daughter had drawn a picture for the front cover of a massive red dragon from the Book of Revelation fame, coming out of the bottomless pit, with scorpion-like locusts coming out of its mouth, and ascending onto the surface of the earth. Now, as I looked at this picture she had drawn for the very first time, I suddenly had a vision in broad daylight. And suddenly time had passed, and I saw a picture related to this drawing she had drawn. New cities had just been built, but they were futuristic in construction, and it looked like something out of the sci-fi movie like I, Robot, something like that. There were people walking around. So I could see this instantly. That's the amazing thing. Just as I was looking at the cover of the book my daughter had drawn for Out of the Bottomless Pit, with this dragon coming out of the bottomless pit, and I just could see around me these cities. And there were people walking around in the cities who had cyborg arms and legs, or other parts of their body were not human. There were also robots walking around. And the people seemed to have some sort of implants in their hands or heads, like 666 mark of the beast. Yeah, my wife just mentioned that the other day she saw those glowing UFOs. Well, I want to tell you, when I saw the mark of the beast on the people in that vision, that's what it was like. It was glowing. It was glowing in their heads, the 666. The impression I had, there had been a terrible worldwide disaster, or something like World War III, and man was rebuilding the cities where it was yet safe to do so, or where the radiation from nuclear fallout was not so high. I also had the impression that the population of the world was much less now. A vision of futuristic cities. How much time's left? Yes. Yes, I noticed that the people in that vision also had some kind of branded mark on their hands, and like I said, illuminated mark in their foreheads. It must have been the 666 infamous mark of the beast, so long ago predicted, Revelation 13. Now supposedly it would take about 30 to 40 years into the future from today to develop cities and technology like what I saw in that vision. I was very surprised at the time I had the vision, because I I've always thought the mark of the beast was imminent, or just around the corner in time. My visions seem to say something else, and it would not happen until many years from now. I also had the impression that the reason why the cities were so new was because the old world had been destroyed and the Antichrist was now rebuilding the cities of the world. Of course, it could be argued that if a nuclear war was to happen in the future, it would not necessarily take tens of years to rebuild. Perhaps a lot of the AI and Mark of the Beast technology that we have now are already available, but not yet in use. Perhaps all the futuristic technology I saw in vision is already available, and they're just waiting to use it. Maybe a worldwide disaster of some kind could very quickly bring on such a new world. Why would I see some people bionic arms and legs? Had there been a big war and some people lost arms or legs in a war, had them replaced by bionic arms and legs? And it was very real to me, I want to tell you, with that vision. It was indeed a surprising vision for me. Yes, that's right, because I always thought that I didn't think we'd got another 30, 40 years. Perhaps if the world continued in its current path without any major disasters, then yes, it would take 30 to 40 years for the vision I had to come about. However, if there was a major worldwide disaster or financial crash or something big, and an immediate rebuilding of the cities, then just maybe it could happen much quicker and only a few years' time. The big question still remains. The long, elongated UFO that my wife and I saw on the 21st September 2025, does it mean there will soon be a major disaster that will bring down the world and happen here in the UK or the West? Well, that remains to be seen. Well, thanks for listening. I hope you found that interesting. And I would encourage you, do get that book I mentioned, Out the Bottomless Pit, number 2. That describes those UFO happenings I had, those 7 UFO happenings I had. It describes some of them. Then chapter 5. No, sorry, I'm wrong about this. No, actually that description of those UFOs is in my first book, Out the Bottomless Pit, number 1. But Out the Bottomless Pit 2 has the cover I'm mentioning, where you've got the great red dragon coming out of the bottomless pit. Well, I do ask that you do pray that these things will not happen right now. There won't be any major disaster. Hopefully that won't be happening in the next couple of months. I'm hoping on this occasion that what we saw does not signify something terrible is going to happen. That's our prayers. I would encourage you, do get my books though, because I know they've got a lot of points in them. You can get them on Amazon, all 12 of my books. The first one was Out the Bottomless Pit, and then came Enoch Insights, Esdras Insights, Josh Insights Book 1 and Book 2, and then Jubilee's Insights, Eden Insights based on the lost books of Adam and Eve, and then you had the Secrets of Enoch Insights based on the second book of Enoch, Out the Bottomless Pit 2, the one I mentioned today, and then also Wisdom Insights, which talks about the Holy Spirit being feminine and proving it. So thanks for listening, and you can see all this, hear all about this, on my website, which is www.insightspublication.com. So thanks for listening. Bye for now.